You know what happens when holding companies get desperate? WPP just announced they're consolidating all their creative agencies under one banner. And honestly, it's exactly what you'd expect from a company that spent the last decade buying everything that moves and then wondering why nothing works together. I'm Kurt Schmidt. This is the Agency Brief. So, WPP announced this week that they're bringing all their creative agencies under one unified structure. The Financial Times broke the story, and look, on paper this probably sounds like a smart move to some MBA in London. Consolidate resources, streamline operations, create efficiencies. But here's what actually happens when you do this. First, you lose what made each agency special in the first place. Ogilvy built its reputation in one way. VMLY and R built theirs another way. Gray had its own thing going on too. Now they're all going to report up through the same structure, use the same processes, and probably pitch with the same deck templates. Dirigby had a great take on this, calling it the Death Star of content approach. And they're right. WPP is basically saying we're going to be so big and so integrated that clients will never leave us. Except, that's not how clients think. Clients leave when you stop solving their problems. And you know what doesn't solve client problems? Another reorganization. Hey, I've watched this movie before. Big holding companies buys a bunch of agencies, realizes they're all operating differently, and decides to integrate them for efficiency. 6 months later, the best talent is left to start their own shops, and the clients are confused about who their team is, and the whole thing is just a mess. But hey, at least the org chart looks very clean. The timing here is fascinating too, because while WPP is building their Death Star, indie agencies are going completely the opposite direction. Digiday reported this week that independent shops are actually thriving by staying small, staying focused, and staying weird. They're not trying to be everything to everyone. They're picking a lane and owning it. On one side, you've got WPP saying bigger is better. We need more integration, more scale. And on the other side, you've got indies actually saying, we're going to stay boutique, we're going to stay specialized, and we're going to eat your lunch on creativity because we don't have 17 layers of approval. So that's the first piece. But here's where it gets really interesting. This isn't just happening at WPP. Dentsu just named a new global CEO this week, Sano. And you know what his background is? He's been running their Japanese operations, and now Japan is a unique market, very different from the US or Europe. So you've got to wonder, is Dentsu about to go through its own massive restructuring? Are they going to try to apply what works in Tokyo to New York and London? The pattern I'm seeing here is holding companies trying to solve their growth problems through reorgs and new leadership instead of addressing the fundamental issue, which is that clients don't need holding companies the way they used to. They need specialists. They need speed. They need partners who actually understand their business, not just another layer of account management. All right, so that's the headline, but what does this actually mean if you're running a 20-person shop? First, opportunity. Every time a holding company goes through a big reorg, talent gets restless. Some of the best people at WPP agencies are probably updating their LinkedIn profiles right now. If you've been looking to hire senior talent, the next 6 months could be your window. Second, positioning. While the big guys are trying to be everything, you need to be something specific. The agencies that are winning right now aren't trying to compete with WPP on scale. They're competing on focus, on speed, and actually knowing their clients' businesses better than anyone else. Now, let's talk about AI for a minute, because there was a fascinating piece in Digiday this week about why marketers are keeping AI off the label. Basically, brands are using AI all over their marketing, but they're not talking about it publicly. Why? Well, because consumers are skeptical. They see AI as inauthentic and cheating somehow. This is such a missed opportunity. Look, I get it. Nobody wants to be the brand that gets roasted for using AI badly. But here's the thing. I'm looking at you, Coca-Cola. But here's the thing. Your competitors are already using it, and while everyone's being quiet about it, nobody's setting the narrative about what good AI usage looks like. For agencies, this creates an interesting dynamic. Your clients want AI capabilities, they want efficiency, and they want insights. But they don't want their customers to know about it. So you end up in this weird position where you're building AI and everything, but you can't talk about it in the case studies or in new business pitches. My take, this is temporary. Some brand is going to come out and own their AI usage and talk about how it helps them serve customers better, and suddenly everyone else is going to be looking behind the curve. The agencies that are building real AI capabilities now, not just ChatGPT wrappers, are going to be ready when that dam breaks. Speaking of brands getting strategic, Heineken's CEO had some interesting comments this week in Marketing Week. He's talking about marketing as penetration, basically saying stop obsessing. He's positioning marketing as penetration, basically saying stop obsessing over loyalty and focus on getting more people to try your product. But here's the kicker. They're building an AI-powered virtual marketing agency. Now, Now, that should scare the hell out of every agency that works with big brands. Heineken isn't just using AI tools, they're building their own virtual agency. Think about what that means. They're basically saying we can do what agencies do, but faster and cheaper with AI. Is it going to work? Probably not the way they think it will. AI is great at a lot of things, but it's not going to replace strategic thinking or creative breakthroughs, at least not yet. But it might replace the 30-person team creating social media variations or the army of people doing competitive analysis. So where does this leave agencies? Well, you've got big holding companies consolidating and trying to get bigger. You've got indie agencies thriving by staying focused and nimble. The pattern here is pretty clear. The middle is disappearing. You're either massive like WPP trying to be everything, or you're small and specialized and excellent at one thing. That 20 to 50-person generalist agency, that is the danger zone right now. Here's what you should do this week. Take an honest look at your positioning. Are you trying to compete with holding companies on breadth? Are you trying to be good at everything? Well, stop that too. Pick one thing you're good at and better than anybody else and double down on it. Maybe it's performance marketing for SaaS companies. Maybe it's brand strategy for challenger brands. Maybe it's creative campaigns for boring B2B companies. Whatever it is, just own it and own it completely. Then look at your AI strategy. Not your AI marketing message, your actual AI strategy. What are you using it for? What could you be using it for? And most importantly, how does it make you better at that one thing you're great at? Because while WPP is reorganizing and Heineken is building virtual agencies, and everyone is pretending they're not using AI, there's a massive opportunity for agencies that are clear about who they are and how they're evolving. That's it for this week. If you found this useful, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, share with another agency owner who needs to hear it. And thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.